Welcome to Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia. With over 30 years in the corporate world as a single mom, cancer survivor, and often the only woman in the C-suite, I understand the balancing act high-achieving women face. Now an executive coach and international speaker, my mission is to embolden every woman in the C-suite or on the rise to claim her agency and challenge the norms holding her back. Tailored for ambitious professional women, this show features candid conversations with powerful business leaders sharing their real stories of success and failure. If you're ready to look up and step up, you're in the right place. Join us and invest in your future today. Welcome to the next episode of Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I am your coach and your host, Dr. Cynthia. Today is a solo episode focused on why human capital is the strategy. But before we begin, a brief note for the leaders and future leaders listening. This week, I'm so proud to announce that Human Capital Investment Strategy officially launches into the universe. And the first few days matter more than most people realize. If you believe that people should be treated as investments, as I do, and not expenses, please purchase a copy of Human Capital Investment Strategy by February 6th to help advance it to bestseller status and strategically expand its reach. This is how ideas become movements, not just through one voice, but through our collective action and shared conviction. And whether you're buying a single copy for yourself or placing the book into the hands of your team, your support this week helps shape a global conversation about how we lead, retain, and invest in human capital. You'll find the details and the discount code CCL in the show notes. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I usually speak to you as an individual. Your ambition, your agency, your clarity, and your next move. But today's different because this week, Human Capital Investment Strategy officially enters the world. And this episode is a pivot point, not just for me, but for you. Because whether you realize it or not, many of you are no longer just climbing the ladder. You're holding it. You're shaping it. You're keeping it steady. And in subtle but powerful ways, you are already influencing who feels safe, seen, stretched, and supported at work. You may not yet have the title. You may not manage a team. But influence is not waiting for your permission. So today, I want to talk to you in two roles at one time. As the ambitious woman you are, still navigating your own career, and as the leader, formal or informal, who is shaping the experience of others. See, when I wrote Human Capital Investment Strategy, it was born out of, quite frankly, frustration and a sense of urgency. Because for decades, organizations have said people are our greatest asset. Talent is everything, and culture matters. And yet, women are still leaving the workforce at disproportionate rates. High performers are disengaging faster than ever, and organizations continue to treat people as an operating cost instead of an appreciating asset. Here's the data. Women represent nearly half of the workforce, yet hold less than 30% of senior leadership roles globally. Women are promoted at lower rates at nearly every level, despite equal or higher performance ratings. And engagement scores for women drop sharply at that manager to director transition, where sponsorship frankly matters most. And here's the cost most leaders underestimate. Replacing a high-performing professional costs 1.5 to 2 times their annual salary conservatively. Disengaged employees cost organizations billions annually in lost productivity. And voluntary turnover is no longer driven by compensation. It's driven by lack of growth, visibility, and belief. I sat in C-suites where millions of dollars were debated over capital equipment, while leadership development budgets were treated as discretionary. That contradiction is not philosophical, it's financially reckless, and it's deeply personal. Because when organizations underinvest in your human capital, in my human capital, women stagnate instead of scale. High performers disengage instead of compound. And institutional knowledge, especially among women, quietly walks out the door. This book, Human Capital Investment Strategy, exists to change how leaders think so that women no longer have to fight systems that were never designed to develop them. So let's get something straight. I spent a lot of time in human resources. Human capital strategy is not an HR initiative. It is not a cultural workshop, and it is not a talent program on the sidelines, nor a pretty packaged DEIB strategy. It is the business strategy. Here's the thing. Every organization actually already has a human capital strategy, but most of them are implicit, accidental, and misaligned. And here's why that matters right now. The workforce is getting older and more multi-generational than ever. Gen Z, praise God, expects development, transparency, and purpose, not someday, right now. AI and automation are accelerating skill obsolescence. Engagement is no longer driven by loyalty, it's driven by investment. If you lead people, whether that's 2 interns, a project team, or a cross-functional initiative, you're allocating human capital every single day through who you stretch, who you protect, who you advocate for in rooms they're not in, who you quietly even write off as not ready yet. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many women rise through systems that didn't invest in them and then unknowingly perpetuate those same systems once they're in power. Sometimes through silence, sometimes through this over fairness, I had to do it, so should you. Sometimes through survival-based leadership and a limited capacity mentality. This episode is your interruption. Chapter 1 of Human Capital Investment Strategy introduces a simple but radical shift. Treat people and their collective human capital like investment portfolios, not positions. Investment portfolios require intentional allocation, risk assessment, diversification, and long-term planning and thinking. That means leaders must ask, where are we over-investing out of comfort or familiarity? Where are we under-investing because potential doesn't look like the pedigree we're used to? What talent are we risk exposed to losing because they feel invisible? And where could compounding growth happen if we were more strategic and intentional instead of reactive? For the woman listening to this podcast, you have likely been an exceptional individual contributor. You learn to outperform, you learn to adapt, you learn to self-fund your growth. But leadership, ladies, that requires a different muscle. Allocating belief, opportunity, and development on behalf of others. The leaders who change trajectories are not the ones who demand more effort. They're the ones who invest more intentionally, strategically, and wisely. So here's where I want us to slow down. You do not need a leadership title to be a leader. To the woman listening, right now, you are modeling something. You model what ambition looks like. You're modeling what boundaries are acceptable. You're modeling what confidence sounds like and what self-advocacy costs or earns. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Who is watching how you navigate pressure? Who's learning from how you speak or don't speak about your work? Who's absorbing what you tolerate as normal? Paying it forward does not wait until the corner office. It happens when you share context instead of hoarding it. Name someone's contribution publicly. Encourage stretch instead of safety. Interrupt bias instead of adapting to it. If you benefited from a woman who went before you, even unknowingly, you carry a responsibility forward. Not for perfection, not martyrdom, responsibility. Here's where this gets very personal for you. If you are still climbing, you deserve a leader who invests in you strategically, not transactionally. You deserve development, not just feedback. You deserve sponsorship, not just mentorship. And if you're leading, you have a responsibility to be the leader you needed but didn't always get. I want you to ask yourself honestly, who on your team is operating below their potential because no one has invested in their growth? Who are you labeling not ready instead of not resourced? Where are you confusing justice with sameness at the cost of equity and impact? Human capital investment strategy is not about being nicer. It's about being smarter. It's about being intentional. And it's about being wiser. And let me be clear, this book is not just for CEOs and CHROs. It's for women preparing for the next level, leaders inheriting broken systems, organizations tired of losing great people. If you want a career with agency, you have to understand how human and financial capital actually moves. And if you want to lead with impact, you must learn how to invest, not just manage. Climbing the corporate ladder was never the end goal. The real work is making the ladder sturdier, wider, making sure others don't fall through the rungs that you perhaps survived. Human capital investment strategy is my contribution to that work. And this podcast, this community, is where that conversation continues. If this episode resonated, I invite you to purchase the book this week. Use discount code CCL at checkout. And by purchasing before February 6th, you advance this work, hopefully to bestseller status, and help us create a movement around human capital investment strategy. Read it not just for your career, but for the careers you one day, if not today, will shape. And as always, keep climbing, but never forget, you are powerful enough to build, hold, and secure the ladder for someone else. So before you move on to your next meeting or task, I want you to pause with this. Think about the people whose work you influence directly or indirectly. Where are you investing in their growth intentionally? Where are you assuming performance will compensate for lack of support? And where might a small, strategic, intentional investment of time, visibility, stretch, or sponsorship change the trajectory of someone's career? Now ask yourself, if your leadership were evaluated the way a financial portfolio is evaluated, on risk, return, diversification, and long-term value, what would the data say? That question is where human capital investment strategy begins, and it's where your leadership evolution continues. Thank you for investing in yourself. Thank you for investing in others, and thank you for sharing a little bit of your precious time with me today. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, you've got this. Congratulations on choosing to invest in yourself. I know your time is precious. Thank you for spending it here with me. I believe in helping you look up, step forward, and fully realizing your potential. If today's conversation resonated, I'd be so grateful if you'd rate and comment on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you know someone who would benefit, please share this episode with them. Let's stay connected. Visit me at dr-cynthia.com, and you can find me on all the socials at Dr. Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer. Until next time, remember, boldly start working on your future today.